right, so today's video, we are here with a probably way too early Season 13 tier list that will probably shift when they inevitably do random patches over the next 2 weeks before the mid-season patch. But we are here. People love their tier lists. So we're just going to do S, A, B, C, D. Sometimes we would go like A+, B+. I ain't doing that today. Also, I'm just going to put Orisa in a different tier. I'll explain why. Orisa is dominant in top 500, is obviously played a lot of games, win rate's low, so I'm just going to put Orisa there. That way there's no like, Orisa's there. Orisa has like the own tier right now. And yes, I'm on a treadmill. Okay, so first of all, I'm just going to put Orisa in the Orisa tier right here. Like I said, Orisa is, in my opinion, S tier right now, but I also play in top 500. I might as well just start off with this right now. So the reason why Orisa doesn't get nerfed anymore is because Orisa is actually one of the lowest win rate heroes. I've had this confirmed in chat multiple times. What that means is that because Orisa has such a low win rate, they won't change Orisa. So that's why Orisa has to be in this tier for me. This isn't like F tier or anything. I just have it here at the bottom. Orisa just is so strong in top 500 and has become such a big part of the meta, but also has the lowest win rate, hence why they don't change anything. Do I think it's because she has a high skill cap? I don't think it has to do with high skill cap. I think it has to purely do with cover. If players start to play this hero around corners and don't just spam their cooldowns running it down mid, I think the Orisa win rate would go up. The problem is a lot of players like to play behind shields or play a different way, like a different ranks position is good or bad. What happens in this situation is Orisa ends up struggling because of how how someone plays Orisa, not necessarily the strength of the character. So next up we have Ramattra. So Ramatra's a pretty interesting hero. So for anybody watching the tier list and may have missed out on Overwatch, they recently made it so Overwatch they made it so Ramattra can't punch through shields anymore, while also increasing the shields. So what happened here is Ramattra got worse against Rhine, arguably better against Winston and Zarya. You go, what do you mean? They can't punch through bubbles? Takes like 4 punches or something to kill a Winston bubble. Winston bubble gets shredded now, and Zarya bubble takes 2 punches. Just to kind of point something out here with Ramattra, we're not going to discuss how Ramattra feels. It's more like, can Ramattra still get good plays? So I'm going to put Ramattra in B tier because of that. I think Ramatra's in a spot where Ramattra is still good, but if you really liked the play style of Ramattra before, you're not going to like Ramattra now. If you don't care about the play style of Ramattra, you can still win games as Ramattra. You could even move Ramattra into A tier if you wanted to for survivability. Queen, this is going to be a hot take, but I'm going to put Queen in A tier. And let me explain why. Queen has so much survivability right now, is really strong, but is overshadowed by all the other tanks right now that are basically dominated. I actually think Queen, when played correctly, is an A tier. Because I look at this and I go, would I rather play Queen or Ramattra right now? Queen 100%. Queen is very, very good. I want to give a little bit of tip to people watching the tier list. Just like with other heroes, you want to play corners. I guess it's going to be a tier list, but with advice. So with Queen, you want to play corners more, right? When you use your Carnage, when you use your Shout, you can also use your Carnage. They changed this a few seasons ago. So what that means is you can Shout to give you overshield for your teammates and you can also Carnage at the same time. On top of that, when you use your Carnage, every person in your Carnage, which is your Axe swing, is 2 seconds off the cooldown. So let's say that I'm on Queen, and I Axe 2 people in front of me. Axe is now on a 4-second cooldown. If you get nobody, it's 8 seconds. Do you see that? So just a little bit of advice there where you can find more value on Queen with high value Carnages. And yes, to anybody wondering, if you get 4 in there, 0-second cooldown. That's why I have Queen in A tier. Keep in mind, it's a tier list. People are going to agree, going to disagree. I don't mind that. But I'm going based off of Queen's pretty good. Diva, A tier. People are going to say, why not S tier? Diva struggles a little bit against some comps, but still really, really good. If you want me to go in order, by the way, maybe I can reorder the heroes as we go. I'd put Diva a little bit ahead of Queen, because I think that Diva has more options to go backline. So I'd put Diva ahead of Queen, but I think Diva's still really good. Diva's not like Diva was last year. Next up, we have Wrecking Ball. Wrecking Ball is C tier. Wrecking Ball is Wrecking Ball. I think people will be like, oh, even lower than that or higher. But the reason why I don't do D tier anymore with the recent Sombra changes, I think Wrecking Ball has actually gotten a little bit more value. While some patches, when Sombra's as good as Sombra can be, that moves Wrecking Ball down. But with Sombra being in a very unique situation right now, I think that puts Wrecking Ball into C tier. I think that's fair. I mean, Wrecking Ball goes in, goes out, makes plays, can interrupt, struggles to solidify limbs, but when played correctly, he's a pretty good hero. Okay, next up we have Sigma. Sigma, in my opinion, is A tier. And honestly, you talked about the general rank thing. Sigma actually is better now for a lot of ranks because when you miss your shots, you do more damage than you used to. Because before, if you were direct with your hits, it was like, oh, damn, that's a lot of burst damage. But then they changed it so if you miss your shots more, the splash damage does more damage. So the heroes become more rewarding across all ranks. Is Sigma the most balanced tank right now? Sigma is one of the easier tanks to balance. Does that make sense? I don't know if the most balanced. There's not much you need to tune about Sigma, which makes it a very easy hero to kind of always stay in that A, maybe high B+ tier. Now, there's some argument you could be like, oh, Sigma's struggling against certain comps, B+ type of thing, but I think Sigma here is fine. Reinhardt, this is a tough one because I want to put Ryan in B, but then like it's like Ryan, because I feel like Ryan is good in a lot of ranks, struggles in some ranks, struggles against current Overwatch, but it also does good. You know what? How about this? How about this, chat? What do you think about that? Ryan at the top of B. Yeah, I was going to say. Like above Ramatra because of the new changes where you can counterplay Ramatra a little bit more. Better than Ramatra in most senses. Still, keep in mind the Sigma-Ryan matchup's pretty close, but Sigma can still do a lot of burst damage. Ryan can kind of go back and forth between A and B tier, and let me explain why, because of Juno. Because now that you have more speed boost in the game, Ryan benefits more, so this is like one of those, if I had an A-, B+ category, I might move Ryan into like A- tier, but because we're going with like just the S, A, B, C, D, I don't want to like get too much information. I think Ramatra here is a safe scenario. Okay, next up we have Winston, S tier. Don't worry, Orisa I do think is S tier, but Winston is still consistently one of the best tanks in the game. Don't be surprised to see Winston get pro play. You know, even though there's Orisa comps, don't be surprised to see a map like Gibraltar have a Winston on a Brig comp. Winston's good. Winston's consistently good. It's still better against D.Va. It can do the same thing, but I think Winston is just still one of the best tanks in the game. Keep in mind, it does require a little bit of good play across the board, but if you can get good at Winston, you're going to have a good time. Zarya, probably in the B tier again. I put Zarya behind Ramatra because Ramatra actually can shred Zarya bubbles now, which gives you energy, but also puts Zarya out of position a lot. I think B tier Zarya is pretty good. You're going to find that a lot of tanks are towards the top end now. Before anybody says, oh, but Zarya runs it down mid of my games, I think that goes back to what I've said before with Zarya, where players give Zarya too much space on the map because of the mindset of don't shoot bubbles. I got a bit of advice for you against a Zarya. If a Zarya is out of position, doesn't matter if they have 100 energy. You can kill a Zarya. If they use both their bubbles right away, boom, Zarya's dead. Problem is this part where people like never shoot Zarya bubbles. But guess what happens when you never shoot Zarya bubbles? Zarya gets positioned in. And then eventually, Zarya gets the energy and then rolls your team. Always take that into account. There's a back and forth game in Overwatch against Zarya where it is okay to shoot bubbles in the right circumstances. Next up, we have Mauga. Not C tier, low NB. Low NB, maybe high C+, better than Wrecking Ball. Like if I was on Sigma and they had a Mauga, I'd be fine with it. If I was on Queen, I'd be fine with it. If I was on D.Va, I'd be fine with it. You see Mauga in OWCS, but let me ask you this question. Stevie, how often do you see people in your rank game going to sim comp with Mauga to teleport into the backline? Because the reason why Mauga's played in pro play is to do a strategy where you TP into the backline as a core and make back and forth plays. That's why Mauga's played there. It's a strategy, not because of the... If that was the case, Mauga would be played every single time, right? But that's what makes Mauga really good. So I'm going to put Mauga in like the low B tier. I know there'll be a bit of pushback on that, and I understand that, but I want to point out, by the way, for people like look at the tier list, B tier ain't bad. Just so you know, a hero in B tier is pretty damn good in Overwatch. This doesn't mean the hero isn't dominating your rank games. This doesn't mean that you're not it doesn't mean that you're not correct, that playing against Mauga sucks, but Mauga is still a pretty good hero that is easier to counter than ever before, but also can be frustrating to play against, which is why I put Mauga in B tier. I guess the argument is, where would you put Zarya against Mauga? Like maybe here, right? If we wanted to go in range, like you could say Mauga maybe can make Zarya have no fun, maybe like that. I think that's pretty, I'm going to go with that. That's fair. Next up, we have Roadhog, C tier. Probably a little bit above Wrecking Ball, but maybe here, like probably C tier. I think you can still, I still see people pop off on Hog, just not as good. Probably like C, a little bit better than Wrecking Ball. Doomfist, B tier? B? Right around the same area as Zarya. Especially, I think all of the tanks like Wrecking Ball and Doom moved up one tier with the change to Sombra. Oh yeah, the Doom one tricks can be really good on Doom. Doom is good. Once again, being in the B tier, I look at all the heroes that I have on the B tier. If you have a Reinhardt, Ramatra, Mauga, Zarya, or Doom on your team, you're not unhappy, right? But if you have a hero like D.Va, Queen, Sigma, Winston, you might have a better time as a team. I still think, like, keep in mind, once again, I want to reiterate, B tier is not bad. And actually is better than a lot of times we've had Doomfist on a tier list. You said Doom's above Mauga for you? I mean, is that a good middle ground for everybody? And then that's it. That's your tank tier list. Overall, not bad. Like I said, Orisa, just to point out, Orisa would be here, but I have Orisa there for fun. Obviously, there's going to be a couple disagreements here and there, but overall, this is how I've seen it, even when watching, like, spectating. So, next up, we have Sim. Ooh. B tier? Okay, just for the sake of, like, a tier list here, I'm going to put DPS after tanks, but, like, the DPS tier list starts at the beginning where the Sim is, okay? I kind of like B because of the strategy. And going up against a good Sim can be tough. I want to say Sim's pretty good. I don't know about you, but Sim can be frustrating to play against. I think I would put, like, Sim, like, in an overall, like, average of all ranks, probably, like, B-. But, like, I have to I'm starting with Sim. So, Sim starts here, but Sim probably moves down the list as we go. Yeah, like you said, a good Sim is high B, but not good like C, so you kind of average it out B-. Also, Sim's really good on, like, Koth maps. Plus, you know what? Here, I'll give one point to Symmetra for this exact reason. And all DPS players, and this is a reminder to myself because I never do it, if you are playing a control map, go Sim to teleport your team out, you will get a massive advantage because in a lot of ranks, players do not do that, which means you get early map control. All you do is you go Sim, you teleport your teammates closer, you switch to your hero, you'll be last there, but your teammates will all have map control. We'll give an extra point to Sim for that. You teleport your team off the map, and then tomorrow you're going to come in and say you got banned for no reason, right? All right, next up, Ashe, A tier. Ashe is A tier. Great hero. Struggles with a little bit of fall-off damage. Ashe and A tier will make more sense soon. Ashe is really, really good. Sombra, this is a toughie. Because, like, part of me says C tier because I think there's a slight... I'm going D tier. I'm all in. I'm all in on D tier. I know some people will say C tier, etc. I'm going D tier. I ain't doing this. Listen, I have played against Sombras in top 500 now. You know what happens? They swap off. Now, keep in mind, there are some strengths to Sombra, right? This does not mean that you won't have a Sombra in your game destroying her backline. So I want to make that point clear. And I'm not sitting here telling you can't play Sombra. I'm just saying right now, Sombra's in a spot where they don't know what to do with Sombra right now. So the hero and how you play the hero is very much up in the air. So until we find, like, a legitimate play style for Sombra, I'm okay with D tier for now. This could change rapidly at midseason. This could change next week if they do a random patch. We don't know that, but I think this is an okay start for now. Next up, we have Junkrat. This is biased for me, B tier. There's going to be people who put Junkrat in C or D tier. I'm extremely biased. I get rolled by Junkrats. I can't take it. Junkrat's in B tier. I can't take it. Ever since I made that change, Junkrat got so much harder to play against. Keep in mind, I do play against these, like, unreal top 500 Junkrats. I can't justify A tier because of, like, Echo, Pharah, like, you know, the long-range comps. That's where I'm at with it. Next up, Widow. This is why Widow's S tier right now. So the reason why Widow's S tier is they have a Mythic, and that's it. I've also heard that Widow... I've heard that Widow is dominating. Widow is basically the server admin right now. Widow does not have fall-off damage. This is also why I have Ashe in A+ tier, because Ashe struggles against a really good Widow because of the fall-off. And Beaver actually in the chat made a good point the other day, which I never took into account. All of these heroes have, like, their strengths and weaknesses. Widow can play at close range. Widow can play at medium range. Widow can play at long range. You can't say the same about Ashe, Cassidy, Sojourn, right? Those heroes have clear strengths and weaknesses. Widow can play at any range and hit those headshots. Granted, you have to be good at Widow, but Widow is dominating right now. And don't be surprised to see Widow be in, like, OWCS matches unless there's a patch change by the time those matches start. Cassidy, oh, man. High B. Oh, no, sorry. B+. B+. Fall off range really hurts Cassidy. A-? B+? A-, B+. A-, B+. I'll go with A. A-. Plus, I'm playing Cassidy, so I need to justify my Cassidy picks. A-, B+. A-, B+. That's where I'm at. It's the fall off. Cassidy is so good mid-range, but then, like, you lose to, like, good snipers. You can't do anything there. Like, but the Cassidy's still a good pick. I don't think that Cassidy's so bad, by the way. I disagree with that. It's one of the most frustrating things in balance is when they change fall off, like, damages or, like, ranges, because it can make a hero feel so good and then so bad in certain ranges, right? Let's talk about something here very quickly. Any Juno players in the chat? You know what I'm talking about? They change your fall off, and now it feels worse. The hero's still good. Like, Juno's probably an S tier, but, like, it still feels bad at the same time, right? You know what I mean? Like, Juno is still, like, S tier. I'm gonna be real with y'all. But, like, it still feels bad. And that's where I think Cassidy runs into. Cassidy is good, but the fall off damage feels bad. But most people are playing Cassidy at that mid-range anyway. Okay, Mei, probably like a B tier. Runs in some Orisa comps. Probably better than Sim and Junkrat right now. Builds out really quickly. Can have long-range damage. That's pretty good, but like obviously it's inconsistent because it's projectile. Maze B. I'd say Maze is a solid B. Next up, we have Sojourn. I've heard Sojourn's being played over Ashe. Is this correct? I've heard some comps are Sojourn Genji. Is this correct? I think like there's arguments here. You know what? I'm gonna stay with Ashe here for now. I'd say like right here. I'd say they're both the same. I say Ashe and Sojourn are in the same tier. I think Sojourn is slept on right now. This is literally, they're both the same tier. Like if this was like a paper being graded, they'd both have a 95. Do you know what I mean? Genji? Okay. How do you want me to grade this? Do you want me to grade OWCS top 500? Or do you want me to grade overall everything? Overall? Here you go. Genji's being played a lot in, apparently being played. You've seen Genji being played in OWCS at times. But if we're going overall player base, probably B. The problem is the reason why Genji falls down here is a lot of Juno Brig comps happen. So Genji gets rolled. It's pretty simple. If you're good at Genji, you're going to find value. If you're bad at Genji, you're going to get rolled. Yeah, I've heard rumors of this. Keep in mind, I'm not in the pro scene anymore, so I don't know this, but I've heard rumors of like a Sojourn Genji comp being played. Like a Orisa, Sojourn, Genji, Juno Brig, I think. Or maybe like a dive-based comp. I think some Genji's being played. I wouldn't be surprised to see some Genji in OWCS, even more so. Torb? B tier. Solid B tier. Kind of sits in the Junkrat Sim category. Probably better than Sim because of survivability in the Torb turret. Maze a little bit better just because of meta. Probably above Sim and Junkrat. Consistent. Pocket pick for a lot of players. People will be like, oh, can you go Torb? I know what that means. If my teammate ever asks me to go Torb, they're telling me I'm sucking. Can we get a Torb here? Can you go Torb? I just randomly want a Torb right now. It's like, I'm not missing that badly. We're just losing team fights. Come on, man. Venture, C plus? Like C plus? Venture's good, but like Venture's also kind of got, when they did that nerf, maybe B? Like here, B minus? Like right here? Maybe B minus? They did that change the Venture. In top 500, yeah, I'll go B minus. I think Venture has some moments. Yeah, I'd say B minus. Venture has some moments, I'd say. Like where like you can make Venture work. It just, remember they did that shield change? It kind of made Venture like really scuffed. Like it's a weird spot for Venture. Like they are good, but like they also struggle. It's a weird spot for Venture. Like Venture's top 500 will have a difference of opinion than, let's say, Bronze. So we just meet in the middle and go B minus. Reaper. How's that? B? A little bit ahead of Sim and Junkrat and Venture. Behind Torb because Torb has a bit more survivability in the Torb turret. Makes good plays. If you go up against the other sniper heroes, Reaper can struggle. You force out cooldowns. It's super on Reaper. Hey, I go Reaper too. But I mean, I don't know, man. I get rolled by Widows now, so I'm biased. I look at everything else here, and I couldn't justify putting Reaper here. So I think, like, right here, based off of what I've seen, maybe, if you want to, maybe that. But even that's a little bit, maybe that. Ahead of May, just because of, like, the ability to get kills consistently, maybe? I'm even having back and forth on this one. I feel like here, we'll put Reaper in between, like, Genji and May. Soldier 70, oh, man. Oh, this is a toughie. B minus. Good, not great. Maybe better than Venture. Like there. Maybe. How about that? Is that good? Listen, chat. There needs to be in the hero. Soldier 76 is the perfect. I have 30,000 damage. What are you doing, team? Ignore my 8 limbs. Can't secure a kill, but can certainly piss people off, right? We're almost done with DPS. We have what? We have Pharah, Tracer, Echo, Bastion, Hanzo, and Bap left for DPS. Then we go on to support, so we should be good. Next up, we have Pharah. How's that? Look where I put Pharah. Seems like a fair trade-off. Ahead of, like, Torb, Sim, Soldier, poke you for a bunch of damage, can't secure a kill, Junkrat, Venture. May's there just because of, like, meta-based comps. Could argue Reaper, could go, like, behind Reaper, but I still think May's a little bit stronger right now. Struggles against snipers and, like, hit scan. Okay. Next up, we have Tracer. I think, like, probably there. You could argue S tier, but I think, like, Tracer is, like, in an overall setting, probably, like, right behind Ashe, in between Sojourn. I mean, listen, if we're talking, like, professional play, I can always see Tracer here, right? But let's be honest with you. Let's be honest in general here. If we're doing, like, an overall kind of assumption here, most Tracers aren't going to be at that S tier in, like, Bronze, like, in Gold, in Diamond, even. So, like, I say... I want to think about all ranks when we do this, right? Like, as a top 500 player, I could see Tracer being here every day of the week. Every day. But if we're just looking at like an overall, you know, every rank, we kind of try to average it out, like you would put Tracer here. Can still get value, can still make plays happen, but won't have that same survivability / one clip ability that you would see in a top 500 game. People are like, yeah, but Cassidy can hinder the Tracer. Yeah, but like, Cassidy also can miss-hinder on Tracer, and the Tracer can outplay it more than anything else. So it's like, it's an argument of like, they're all kind of in the, you know, people might say, what about here? No, I don't think that. I go against a good trade. Yeah, Sojourn, I don't know yet on Sojourn. Here. Depends. If Sojourn can't farm up on like an Orisa, then this matchup is different, right? I'm probably wrong in some areas here, but it's a tier list, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna contradict myself 20 times during a tier list. Next up, we have Echo. Ooh, Echo's, dude. I'm gonna be real with you. How about that? What do you think? Maybe A-? I like A-. I think Echo's a lot better. Echo's a really good pocket pick, too. This is good. I like this. I don't mind the Cassidy Echo matchup. I think Cassidy can have a little bit better of an opportunity against an Echo, but a good Echo's tough. Yeah, I think A-. I can agree with that. If you can set up correctly, you can have a really good time on Echo. You have two play styles you can do. You can play back and spam with your team, or you can kind of set up on these like flanks and go for like these silent type of assassin plays, and you can shred people. Like people will fall over before they even know what happened to them. Next up, we have Bastion. I don't know, here? Is here? Like what, C+? Yeah, I think C+. I looked here and I'm like, I put Bastion here and I'm like, nah, it doesn't seem right. I'm like, doesn't seem right. We're gonna go with like C. Only reason why is Bastion is just so cooldown reliant more than like any other hero. We started seeing a lot of Bastion in top 500 for some reason. I think it's just like top 500, you're gonna have players who are really good at stuff. Don't be surprised if Bastion ends up being a top, like, it's funny because I did see a player who I think is on an OWCS team lock Bastion. And I was wondering if like there's a pocket like Bastion strategy, but I think they just wanted to play Bastion. That might have been one of those I'm tilted games and I'm just going Bastion. Hanzo, B-. One shots again, has more HP, struggles with consistency, could move it up maybe to like above Soldier, B-. Be honest. Gotta be C. Dude, listen, since they brought back some of the one shots, I feel like Hanzo's a little bit better than like here. Oh wait, sorry, one second, let me put Hog. Ooh, yeah, I think you could argue back and forth. For the sake of like the one shot being back and a little bit more I think like for the sake of like having a little bit more HP and having the ability to one shot and can like not necessarily compete against snipers, but can still one shot them. Keep in mind, the projectile is always inconsistent. Like, I want to say like B-. Maybe a little bit above Venture. Tough to say. I don't know. You could go, okay, what would get the most... What would get the most people on TikTok to be like, ugh, Hanzo? Let's see. Okay, B-. Okay. Okay, and that's your DPS. There you go. There you go. There's your DPS. Probably some disagreements here and there. I don't know. I'm making the tier list. Not bad at all. Look at my tier list. I'm calling it not bad. Of course, there's bias there, but a lot of playable heroes. I forgot Bap. Bap is S tier at all in all times in ranked. A tier. I have Bap in A tier because of Juno Brig and S. Got better with the recent buff with no recoil. I'm seeing more players realize that Bap has no recoil now and can dominate. So don't be surprised to see by mid-season Bap go here. But like in a rank setting, probably here. Like A, high A+. Brig, S tier. I want to point out to players here for Brig. And I hope this is helpful for Brig players. I'm going to give you a tip. Stop trying to get a bunch of like damage output on it. What I like about Brig is this. Brig is like an off tank. Keep your other support alive, and Brig will dominate. And this goes for any support line. Ask chat, my win rate on Brig right now is like 70% in top 500. A lot of people, as Brig, they don't do that. They just try to like go and tank and do damage. That's how you fall over as Brig. So it's a playstyle adjustment, okay? So Brig is going to be like in the S tier because of that. Now, Brig is just one of the best, what you would consider like a flex, is it flex support? Like Brig is also in the same role as Zenyatta, to give you an example. Like if you went down like the actual stuff, right? You know how like Zenyatta would be the off healer, off tank type of thing, like, but Brig is way better, right? Yari is also considered that. I agree with you, by the way, that the main flex support doesn't like mean as much as it used to be in Overwatch 1. What I'm saying is a lot of comps run those type of comps still. Okay, next up we have Moira. Probably B tier. Not C tier. Does good damage, does good healing, has no utility. That's why Moira usually ends up in B tier. Doesn't bring a lot to the actual team fight when it comes to survivability and like being able to prevent stuff. But basically does good damage, does good healing, can be played in a lot of ranks, so. Okay, next up we have Kiriko. I'd say Kiriko's an A tier. Good utility. The opposite of like, by the way, the opposite of like what Moira does. Kiriko has great utility, great ultimate, still gets good damage output, has good healing. Overall, like kind of like just a great support. Next up we have Juno, S tier. Even with the changes to Juno, all it did was shift where you play as Juno, not anything else. Got a little bit less healing, but like still is just good. Straight up, just a great hero. Ultimate's a team fight winner, pretty much guaranteed. If you heck up your ult rotation on Juno, you know you're losing to a Juno. Can speed boost your teammate, which we've talked about it for years. Speed boost is underrated. Now you have a hero that can literally give you speed boost on accident, even more than Lucio did, because Lucio needs to be in like a range. And a lot of Lucios wouldn't even use speed boost in like bronze. Has an amazing fun right click. So there you go. Juno and S tier, pretty much. You're going to see a lot of Juno Brig, by the way, chat. Actually, I'm going to put Juno there, by the way, ahead of Brig. Next up, we have Lucio. This is a tough one. Probably like low A tier. Still good, but like overshadowed by Juno. Like just Juno is just a better option right now. But like low A, like you can, a good Lucio can still make plays happen, but like just not at the same value as like Bap, Kiriko, Juno Brig right now. In like a rank setting. Hey, you know, it's better than the days of Lucio being down here, right? Like, I think, like, not bad. Next up, Ana. Kind of right there with Lucio, right? Can fit in with the Ana Brig comp with Winston. But, like, is going to be overshadowed in a lot of comps. But can also, like, win with comps. Kind of, like, maybe here. I would still prefer a Kiriko or a Bap. Or, like, these. But, like, I still would... Ana's, like, here. Good utility. Kiriko prevents that utility and play styles. Bap can provide more damage output. Ana can synergize well with a lot of the heroes in the game. I'm not mad if I have an Ana, but like if other team has a Juno Brig, like you're kind of like, okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. A Yari here, B. Decent, but not great right now. A lot of its play style too, or like a Yari's more of like the Zenyatta style. I think like if you have a really good like player, like just to give you an idea, if you have a really good player playing a Yari, you could argue like low end A-, but like that's like top 500. I think a Yari has a playstyle that hasn't been quite figured out yet for a lot of players. So I think, like, a little bit better than Moira. But, like, Moira might be better in, like, bronze or, like, silver gold than a Yari. So it's like you have an argument where they kind of run the same, but I'll put, for this sake, I'll put a Yari here. Zenyatta, same boat. Probably, like, a little bit behind Moira. A little bit better, has some good cooldowns, but, like, same concept. I can't put Zen in C tier because I think Zen still brings good value as a range. Like, maybe you want to go C+. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit here, I'm going to look at the tier list, and how does this feel if I have a Zenyatta right here? That's what I want to see. This is okay. Zen's a tough one, to be honest with you. But I think, like, I'm okay with this. You could argue, you know, Zenyatta ahead of a Yari. Is Zenyatta A- if you play right? But, like, I think this is fine. You can argue it. I'm okay with that. Like I said, I'm not sitting here trying to say I'm right about everything on the tier list. So it's okay if you have a difference of opinion on that one. I'm totally okay with that. Next up, we have Lifeweaver. As much as I want to move Lifeweaver up here, I think Lifeweaver's C tier. I think Lifeweaver's problem is that, like, it's so hard to find that gameplay loop, but I think, here's my take on Lifeweaver. I think Lifeweaver is actually better than people think Lifeweaver is, but it's also hard to find a way to fit Lifeweaver into it. You said, did Lifeweaver D stop glazing? That's not glazing. First of all, listen, the only thing that's been glazing is a glazed donut right now, okay? I ain't glazing anything at that point. I have, like, 2 minutes on Lifeweaver. Lifeweaver... Listen, y'all want Lifeweaver D tier? I'm telling you right now. Have you seen Lifeweaver? Hey, no, I'm saying glazed donuts are good, okay? I love glazed donuts. You can give me a 12 thing of glazed donuts right now? I'll take that any day of the week, baby. Let's go. But I do think that Lifeweaver is better than thought. Here's the problem with Lifeweaver. And I'm gonna tell you why Lifeweaver feels rough. Lifeweaver doesn't synergize well with pretty much any comp. But if you look at Lifeweaver's utility now, you look at Lifeweaver's damage output, you look at Lifeweaver's heals, you look at Lifeweaver's ultimate, Lifeweaver is good. There's no synergy with other comps. So that's the problem. Lifeweaver's cooldown flow is better. Everything is better with Lifeweaver, but like there's nothing you can do. It's just, Lifeweaver just doesn't have like a comp that works for Lifeweaver. Mercy. Seem good? I am a streamer, Mercies and B. Nope, not doing it. I'm not stupid. All right, there's my tier list. Feel free to get mad about it or happy about it or whatever. Just remember, tier list isn't gonna, don't use my tier list to dictate your ranked comps for your teammates and yell at them. Tier list is all opinion based. I contradict half the things I say in a tier list. It's all fun and games. There's my tier list. Take it with a grain of salt. Sound good? And it's way too early anyway. Sound good? Sounds good.